Okay, we're going to continue with 3-4. We did distance formula first. Now we're going to do midpoint formula, or just midpoints. I'm going to talk about what a midpoint is here in a second. Well, right now, actually. So what if I did this? I'm not going to really show you where the midpoint formula came from, but I'm going to just talk about midpoint here just a second. So if this is a line segment from there to there, could I measure that line segment? Yeah, absolutely. Okay, what I want to find is I want to find the midpoint. Where do you think the midpoint is? Somebody just describe it to me in your own words. In the middle, right, exactly. That's the word midpoint, correct? All right, let's do this. So, do you write it down? What do you think? Yeah, good idea. If I'm writing it, you're writing it, okay? It shouldn't even be a question. I don't even understand why anybody would ask that question. All right, here we go. So let's say this is a number line, and let's say I'm here at the number 3, and I want to go up to the number 13, okay? And I want to find out what number is in the middle of 3 and 13. A couple ways to do it. You could just kind of think, maybe just guess a number and then say, wow, that's too short, that's too long. You could do that. Not a great way to do it. You could do this a couple ways. Anybody have any ideas? Just put it right there. Any ideas to find out what number is in the middle? Evan? 10? 10's in the middle? Yeah, so 10's definitely not in the middle. But 10 does have a little bit to do with it.
It's probably 5.
Say 8? How'd you get 8? Yeah? That's exactly right. That's exactly what I want you to see. All right? So, yeah, you'd think you wouldn't add, but you do. Now, here's another way you could do it. Okay, but watch. You're right. And where'd you get the 10 from? 13 minus 3, right? Okay. So that's kind of the way you probably see it, all right? Because what is the length? What is the whole length from 3 to 13? It's 10. 13 minus 3. Agreed? All right. So I could do that. I could go 13 minus 3 is 10. And then if this is in the middle, what are we going to do that 10? Divided by 2, which is what? 5, but is this number 5 right here? No, because that's only 2 away from 3, right? So it's not 5, but it's what? It's 5 away from 3, isn't it? You see that? So it's 5 this way, and it's 5 this way. So if I go from here to here, and I go 5 places, where am I at? I'm at 8. Same thing here, isn't it? If I go from there to there 5 places, what did I do? I subtracted, right? 5 from 13, and I'm still at 8. Agreed? That's one way to do it. But watch. There's that 5, then I have to go 3 plus 5, which gives you 8. Do you see all that nonsense right there? It's not nonsense, okay? It's the way we think, but there's a better way to do it, and Donnell showed us that way. All right, so what we're going to do, how can I get an 8 out of a 3 and a 13? If I just gave you 3 and if I gave you 13, okay, how would you get an 8 out of those two numbers? And you only have to do 2 things, 2 steps. Right here, you had to do a couple steps. You had to go 13 minus 3, then you had to divide by 2, then you had to add a 5 to it. All right? That's 3 steps you had to do. That's it. You could just add them up and then do what to it? Divide it by 2. That's right. That's a lot easier, don't you think? Yeah. So that's what we're going to do. Okay, we're going to add them up, and we're going to divide by 2. Everybody see that? And you get the same exact answer. So, oops, I was going to put 26. That's what? 16 divided by 2 is 8. And that gives you that point that's right in the middle. That's what we're going to do in this midpoint formula. What do? To the endpoints, we add them up, and then we divide by 2. Everybody hear me? Okay, got a lot of heads down, not paying attention. Maybe you're writing. That's good then. But everybody pay attention to me, right? You add the 2 numbers up, and then you divide by 2. All right, so now let's do the distance formula. Now, so that's kind of easy when it's going up and down. Or I'm sorry, when it's going left or right. You could do the same thing going up or down. Watch this. Let's do one that's a little bit harder. Okay, let's say we got a point right here, and we got a point right here. We're going up and down, all right? And here's the midpoint right there in the middle. Everybody see it? So what if we're at -7 and I'm up here at +5? It's a little tougher because you got a negative. You're not used to seeing that. But where would the middle be for -7 and a +5? What would the middle number be? Would it be 1? Because it's not a 1, because from here to here would be 4. If this is a 1, from -7 to... Is it? Yeah, do it. Did you divide? Yes. Okay, so watch. It's -7. What do we say we do? Take the endpoints and do what to them? Add them up. So what's -7 plus 5? And then what do we do after we add them up? We divide by 2, correct? So what's -7 plus 5? -2. But then what are we doing to find the middle? We divide it by 2 to find the middle. And what is -2 divided by 2? It's -1. So what's in the middle? -1. Now think about it. How far is it from 5 to -1? It's 6 places, right? From 5 to 0 is 5 places. Then you go one more down, right? Would be -1. How far is it from -7 to -1? 6 places. It's 6 this way. It's 6 this way. So is -1 in the middle? Absolutely. See it? All right, we're getting there. We're not really showing you, I'm not really proving the formula to you, but I kind of am in a way, right, in a simplified way. So let's now do the midpoint formula, okay? So I'll just put MP, is that all right? Midpoint, okay, is equal to. Here's the formula. Now, it's a point. It's the mid what? The midpoint. So a midpoint formula is going to be a point. It's not just going to be a number. Like when we did the distance, it's just a number. It's how far, right? It's not really a point. It's just a number. I say, if I measure something, I say, that's 5, that's 7. Even a weird square root, right? The square root of 13 comes out to like 3 point something. You can still measure it, all right? On this, it's not just a measurement. It's a point where it's located. So, for instance, I'll tell you what, before I show you that, let me do this. I wasn't going to do it, but now I will. Let's move that up to there. All right, so let's say we had a line segment like this. Okay, what we are finding, I want you to know what we're doing here, okay? Just memorizing a formula, I mean, it's nice, it's okay. You can get the right answer just by memorizing the formula, but I want you to see what we're actually trying to do. So let's say there's a point on the end here and a point on the end here, okay? What do I want to find? I want to find the what of that red line? The middle. The what? The midpoint. That's right. So the midpoint would be about right there. If I can make that work. There we go. See that point right there? That's the midpoint. So what are we trying to find? We're trying to find a point that's in the middle. You got it? So it's a point. That's what we're trying to find. This point right here, let's just make it really general. So we'll call it our first point. So what do you think I'm going to call it? X and Y, but X what? 1 and Y what? Y1. Good. This is our second point. So what do you think I'm going to call this second point? X2 and Y2. Everybody see that? So what we're doing is we are trying to find the point that's in the middle. We're trying to find that point. And here's what it is. Okay, everybody ready? With all that buildup, here we go. It's a point, so we're going to write it as an ordered pair. I made it super big, all right? We know we're going to divide by 2. But what do? What'd you do with these two numbers? What'd you do to them? You added them, okay? What'd you do to these two numbers right here? You added them, okay? These would be like your x's, right? Because it's going left and right. This would be like your what? Your y's, because they're going up and down, okay? So what do you think we're going to add? We're going to add the x's together. That's right. So add the x's together. So I'm going to go x1 plus, no, I said add the x's together. x2, add the x's together. Why are we saying y? It's x1 plus the other x. What's the other x? x2. Okay? Now, you should be able to figure this part out. What's this going to be? y1 plus y2. That is your midpoint formula. That has to be memorized. Okay, I think we went through it for you to understand. I think that kind of makes sense, doesn't it? All right, so this point right here, what is that point? Well, I take the two x's, I add them up, and I divide by 2. Then I take the two y's, I add those up, and I divide by 2. And that's that point right there in the middle. Okay, let's do an example. Let's do one with some actual numbers in here instead of x1, y1, and all that kind of stuff. All right, so we're going to find, the question says, I'm just going to say find the midpoint. But the problem says find the coordinates of the midpoint. What does that mean? It means it's an ordered pair. The coordinate, where it's located. Sincere, you watching? Took some good pictures of you Saturday, didn't I? You didn't see them? What's that? You didn't see them on Flickr? I put them up on Flickr already. You don't even look at Flickr? Why not? Anyway, well, I did you a favor. Took some nice pictures of you. All right? So you need to pay attention to me. So it says find the coordinates of the midpoint. But I'm just going to say this. I'm just going to say find the midpoint. All right? Of, and here you go. This looks very, very similar to the last worksheet you did. But what were you finding on the last worksheet? You were finding the what between the 2 points. The distance, how long it was, right? How long it is from this point to this point. That's what we were finding before. There's a difference between what we're doing today. What are we doing today? We're taking those 2 points, but we're finding the what? The middle point. That's the difference of what we're doing today compared to what we did like on Thursday and Friday, okay? So it looks the same, but you got to read what they're asking you to find. This time, they're saying find the midpoint. Okay, you don't have to graph this. In fact, you guys asked me earlier, should I write this down? And I said, of course, everything I write down, you should write down. But don't write down this part, okay? So I changed my mind. On this little part right here, don't write this down, okay? I just don't want to confuse you. I just want you to see what's going on, all right? I want you to understand what you're finding. Instead of just randomly throwing a bunch of numbers into a formula, I want you to understand what you're doing. So where is negative 2, 3? Negative 2, 3. Correct? All right, so there's negative 2, 3. What's this one? 1, 5. So there's 1, 3, 4, 5. 1, 5 is about right there. Yes? So what am I trying to do? I'm trying to find the number that's where? In the middle. Okay? In the middle. Okay? So it looks like the middle's somewhere around in here, isn't it? That's what I'm trying to do. I'm trying to find where that point is. You understand? Okay, yesterday, or not yesterday, but Thursday and Friday, what were you doing to those 2 points? We're trying to find the length of it, right? How long it is from here to here. That's a lot different, isn't it? It's really different. Okay, I'm just trying to find out where the middle of that line segment is. All right, so let's do it. Do we have a formula for midpoint? We do. Write it down. Every single time you do this problem, write it down because that's the way you'll remember it. Remember, it's an ordered pair, so I put parentheses and a comma. It's mid, so I'm always going to do what to it? divided by 2. All right, so that's the way I started off. Now I can put my x's and y's in there. All right, so this is going to be x1 plus what? x2. So what are my x's? Look at my 2 points. Which ones are my x's? Right, -2 and +1. So it's -2. What am I doing? I'm not subtracting. What am I doing? I'm adding. So for midpoint, you add them. For distance, what do you do to the x's and y's? You subtract them, okay? This one is addition. Now I add the y's. Which ones are my y's? The 3 and the 5. So I add those together. Everybody see that? Okay, let's do it. -2 plus 1, it's -1 over what? 2, comma. 3 plus 5 is 8 over 2. Let's simplify it. Can I simplify this one? No, it's just what? It's -1/2. Okay, what about this one? Yeah, that's a 4. So what did I just find? The midpoint. I found this point right here. Okay? It's not exactly right on the graph. If I put a graph with the lines on it and stuff, it would have been dead on. But look, -1/2. It's kind of close, isn't it? I just didn't draw that very accurately. Probably didn't space these numbers exactly, but it's pretty close. -1/2, 4. That's what I just found. I found the midpoint of the line segment that connects those 2 points right there. We good with that? It's really not that hard if you know what you're trying to find and if you know the formula. You got to know the formula. Okay, it's super important to know the formula. I don't have any other examples in my notes, but I'm going to grab a worksheet here. And here we go. No, just hang on. Let me grab one of these graph things to make it a little more accurate. Okay, everybody's watching? Don't fade out on me here. Okay, we haven't done a whole lot yet, so should have a lot left in the tank. You know how on that distance one, I didn't make you do the ones with the graphs? On this one, I'm going to. All right? So, yeah, you can write this down. So what they're going to do is they are going to give you a graph of a straight line. Yeah, let's do this one. Let's put a point right here. And let's put a point right here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2. Okay. Now they do give you a graph, so you know exactly where those points are. What is this point right here? -1, -1. Very good. Okay, so I'm going to write it down. So really, the only thing different about these problems is they give you the graph and you got to figure out what the points are. They don't just tell you the points right off the bat. You got to look at the graph and figure out what the points are. It's the only thing different about these compared to when they just give you the points. All right, what about this point right here? Where is that? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And then what? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So it's what? -6, -5. I actually miscounted when I put that on there, but let's do this one anyway. This isn't exactly the one from the quiz, or from the worksheet. But anyway, let's do that anyway. So when they give you this graph with a little line on there, all you got to do is just figure out the 2 endpoints and write them down. That's the only thing different than what we did earlier in the example. Okay? So now, let's do the midpoint. So midpoint equals, remember, it's an ordered pair, isn't it? So we make sure you put the parentheses and the comma. I've said this several times already. I can almost guarantee that people are just going to write down an answer and say the answer is 3, or the answer is the square root of 13. Okay, that doesn't make any sense. It's an ordered pair. We got to find out where the middle is, okay? So if I looked at this line right there, let's just take not a wild guess, an educated guess. So it looks like the midpoint is right here, doesn't it? Does that look in the middle? We could just guess, couldn't we? It'd be 1, 2, 3.5, right? -3.5, and then 1, 2, 3, -3. All right. Now, you could do that and just guess, but especially if it's in between these lines right here, that might not be a good idea to guess. So let's figure it out what it is exactly. All right. So let's do it. What do we do here? Put it over 2. Let's make this white. Put it over 2. Put this over 2. Right, and what do we do? Well, okay, we add up the x's, correct? So it's -1 plus what? -6. Now let's add the y's together. -1 plus -5, good. And what's -1 plus -6? -7 over 2, comma, put it in parentheses. What's this? -1 plus -5. That's -6 over 2, but that will simplify, won't it? This one won't. It's just -7 over 2. This one is -3. What is -7 over 2, though? -3.5. So we were pretty good. That was a pretty good guess on our part, wasn't it? All right. That was a pretty educated guess. It wasn't like a crazy wild guess. All right. But yeah, that's -3.5, -3. See that? Just knowing the points, I could tell you exactly where the midpoint was. And I could see it on the graph, and that's kind of good. All right, I kind of like that. I can see that my answer comes out to exactly the way it should have come out. All right, so as long as I use a nice graph paper graph and I make sure I mark everything and draw my straight line straight, everything will work out. That is -3.5, -3. Exactly what we got right there. We okay with that? All right. So I'm going to give you a worksheet tomorrow, but today I'm going to give you something from the book. All right. I gave you a lesson plan already. So what's it say? 7 to 12? Okay. So we're going to call this section 3-4B. All right. Make sure you call it B because you've already turned in A. It's page 132. And numbers 7 to 12. Okay, it's on the lesson plan I gave you. Do not leave those lesson plans on your desk or on the floor. It seems like every single Monday I go through and I'm picking at least 1 or 2 up off the floor, okay? I mean, I spent a lot of time on these lesson plans, okay? Do you like getting the lesson plans or could you care less? Or couldn't you care less? Okay? All right. Then I won't be giving you one next time then. All right, that's fine. But there it is right there, okay? It's on RenWeb as well, and it's on YouTube. 3 different places are places where you should know. Is that the consensus? You don't want the lesson plans? You do want them? All right. Yes. Their lesson plans? I don't know. I haven't spoken with every teacher, so I don't know. I think they're supposed to. I don't know if they do or not. What's that? They're supposed to. But, well, they're supposed to at least give them to Mr. Osborne. But I put them up there so he checks RenWeb and it should be on there. Okay, why are we standing? We should be sitting. All right? We don't do that in here. All right? You wait till the bell rings. You got like 2 minutes left. Just sit, talk. Everybody's good. All right. Make sure this is due tomorrow, okay? So make sure you turn it in tomorrow, please.